All right, so the father of the vaccine, Donald Trump, is trying to throw my favorite congressperson out of government, Thomas Massie. We got to read in Trump's voice the message to Thomas Massie. Today he said, "Get this bum out of office ASAP." And he responded to his old post, which was made a day or two ago. Here's what he said. "Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky is not MAGA, even though he likes to say that he is. Actually, MAGA does not want him, doesn't know him, and doesn't respect him. He is a negative force who almost always votes no, no matter how good something may be. He's a simple-minded grandstander who thinks it's good politics for Iran to have the highest level nuclear weapon, while at the same time yelling death to America at every chance they get. Iran has killed and maimed thousands of Americans and even took over the American embassy in Tehran under the Carter administration. We had a spectacular military success yesterday, taking the bomb right out of their hands, and they would use it if they could. But as usual, and despite all praise and accolades received, this lightweight congressman is against what was so brilliantly achieved last night in Iran. Massie is weak, ineffective, and votes no on virtually everything. Before him, Rand Paul Jr., no matter how good something may be. He is disrespectful to our great military and all that they stand for, not even acknowledging their brilliance and bravery in yesterday's attack, which was a total and complete win. All caps. Caps lock. I love caps lock. Massie should drop his fake act and start putting America first, but he doesn't know how to get there. He doesn't even have a clue. He'll undoubtedly vote against the great, big, beautiful bill. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's like Melania. It's hot. It's beautiful. Even though non-passage means 68% tax increase for everybody, and many things far worse than that, MAGA should drop this pathetic loser, all caps, Thomas Massie. Oh, Tom, like Tom and Jerry, Tom Massie, like the plague. He's a plague. Disgusting. I made that part up. It's not in there, but the good news is that we will have a wonderful American patriot running against him in the Republican primary, and I'll be out in Kentucky campaigning really hard. MAGA is not about lazy, grandstanding, non-productive politicians, on which Thomas Massie is definitely one. Thank you to our incredible military for an amazing job they did last night. It was really special, all caps, 3 exclamation points. Make America great again, okay? Make it great again. That was the longest Trump message I've ever had to read in his voice. I'm exhausted from that. But so the first time that Trump called Thomas Massie a grandstander was when Thomas Massie said that the CARES Act was going to be the biggest mistake in American history, the socialist cheese in the trap. And he also noticed that they were trying to vote on this massive bill without going to work to hide their votes, so you didn't even know who voted yes or no. And Thomas Massie had this to say about the CARES Act. So,
Mr. Speaker, I came here to make sure our republic doesn't die by unanimous consent in an empty chamber, and I request a recorded vote. There's a big cover-up in there.
You believe it's a cover-up, sir?
Well, they're trying to cover up their votes. They had enough people there to pass the bill, but they still refused to have a recorded vote. And they told me they were trying to protect members.
Don't you believe that that's the case, sir? It's 435 members in a room that can't hold that many.
No. They're trying to protect the members who are there from political ramifications.
Sir, both sides of the chamber, your side as well as the Democrats, as well as the White House, have said that they didn't want you to do this. Why press forward into a bill that everybody agrees should be passed?
Like I said in there, I came here this week to make sure our republic doesn't die in an empty chamber by unanimous consent. These people need to do their jobs. If they're telling people to drive a truck, if they're telling people to bag groceries and grow their food, then by golly, they can be in there and they can vote. And that's what we did this week. They came, and you can see it didn't delay the vote any. They sat on their cans yesterday here. They didn't do a thing yesterday. They were trying to say this would delay it to have a recorded vote. The truth, if you're willing to report it, is they don't want a recorded vote. They don't want to be on record of making the biggest mistake in history.
That's when I became a fan of Thomas Massie. It's interesting. As soon as I was like, wow, Thomas Massie's really good, Trump's like, he's really bad. He's really bad. And I hate to keep playing this clip, but it's very important for context that Trump thinks that Israel should literally own the United States Congress.
Well, you know, the biggest change I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was so powerful It was so powerful. And today it's almost the opposite. But I think you know exactly what I'm saying. They had such power. Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress, and now it doesn't.
Do you think it's a coincidence that Trump, the AIPAC, who Thomas Massie talked about here,
Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What's that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
That's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to D.C., you go have lunch with them. And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
The Republican Jewish coalition, they all want to throw him out. Do you think it's because Thomas Massie isn't good enough for America, or Thomas Massie isn't good enough for the country that Trump works for, which is Israel? I think everybody knows the answer. Like I said before, I get that Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, they could be a little bit annoying to some because they put the Constitution over, politicians. So even when you want something to be done and you think that Trump should do it, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie usually say that needs congressional approval, and we don't want to let any president be a dictator. I know a lot of people that don't like Rand Paul because of this. I know Rand Paul, and I know a lot of people that don't like Thomas Massie, but to me, they're not the problem in Washington. It's everybody else. I understand that maybe you don't like that or agree with it, but, when Trump says, oh, you don't get anything done, it's like, what does Congress get done? A big, beautiful bill, anti-Semitism, hate speech laws, more foreign aid for Ukraine and Israel. The reason that no good person can get anything done in Congress is because Congress is literally insane and everything they do sucks. Like, both parties are controlled opposition. And if you look at AIPAC, who Trump essentially seems like he works on behalf at this point, they have lobbied most of Congress. Like, most of Congress is working in their direction. So this idea, it's like, oh, he can't get anything passed. Well, say you have a good bill, like Thomas Massie has bills to do stuff for American beef. Thomas Massie has bills to essentially, I think, like end the Federal Reserve. He has a lot of interesting bills that probably most Americans would support, but none of the other people in Congress are ever going to get behind it. So I understand why you might see him as a grandstander, but when you look at the stuff that Congress does, 99% of them are sold out and swampers. So I'm not shocked that he can't really get anything done. And I do have this to say, once again, he's not the problem in Congress. Every time a bill passes, Thomas Massie usually tells people what it really says. He explains his vote, and he votes very ethically, whether it's left wing or right wing. I don't really know how long I could talk about this, probably for a while, but I completely disagree with Donald Trump here. I don't think he's doing it for the country. I don't think he's doing it for MAGA. I think Donald Trump got swallowed up by the same donors that he used to make fun of Marco Rubio for. He now works for those donors. He now won't release the Epstein files because I believe, and Trump could prove me and everybody else wrong, I think the Epstein files will show who Epstein was working for, and I think Trump and Epstein work for the same people, essentially. So we're not getting the Epstein files, we're getting the Epstein wars, we're getting the Epstein speech laws, we're getting the Epstein politics, we're getting Lindsey Graham, we're getting John McCain, we're getting George Bush, and now MAGA has to jump through hoops to explain why they think it's right. There's people's tweets, like I said in another video, where they were saying, don't vote for Nikki Haley, she wants to bomb Iran. Now that Trump has literally bombed Iran, people are like, it's not war because I like Trump, and also it's different when he does it. The truth is, whether you agree with what Trump's doing or not, John McCain won, George Bush won, John Bolton is happy, Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, they're thrilled. People think CNN is left-wing media because in many ways they are domestically, but people don't realize that don't watch CNN, that CNN has the same foreign policy as Fox News. It's like if you're liberal and you want to, have transgender sports, you could watch this channel. If you're Republican and you disagree with this, you could watch Fox News. But they're both leading in the same direction, and they just prey on people, especially the boomer generation who still watches them, to be so into the left-right paradigm that they don't realize that. They're like, I'm so much smarter. I watch Fox News. And then someone who watches CNN will be like, I hate those MAGA tards. I watch CNN. they don't even realize that they're leading them to the same direction, because whether it's Obama, George Bush, Lindsey Graham, Nikki Haley, or now Donald Trump, they all have the same foreign policy. They just sell it to their base. Like Obama's the liberal who's going to save the world. Trump's going to beat Obama, but they're doing the same thing. So now I think, MAGA is jumping through hoops to figure out why they think this is okay. And I would just say this, even if you're totally cool with everything Trump's doing, it's inevitable. Kamala probably would have done it anyway. This is what I have to say. Like, is MAGA going to admit that the neocons were right if that's what they think? Like, if you think that everything Trump is doing now is great and it's so, revolutionary, and Iran needs to go and they need to be regime change or get rid of nukes or whatever narrative they're going. I already know they're going to go for a regime change. The script has been written for 20 years, but they could pretend like that's not the case. Is it time for MAGA to be like, yeah, I guess John McCain was right. I guess Nikki Haley was right. I guess George Bush was right. I don't think MAGA is going to do that, because they're going to be like, it's different when Trump does it. It's like if any politician sold a vaccine, locked the country down and did the CARES Act, everyone would be like, holy crap, that's terrible. But when Trump does it, you have all these influencers that are just trying to figure out why it's right. They're like, well, maybe since I like Trump so much, war isn't war. War is peace, and peace is war. Maybe he didn't run on ending the war in Ukraine, and maybe he didn't run on not starting a new war. Maybe when he strikes a foreign country, it's not war because I like him. Maybe Operation Warp Speed was a way to save the world from 6-year lockdowns. Trump supporters have essentially, and I understand that not everybody's like this, but the really diehard MAGA, they've created a religion around Donald Trump where they trust Trump more than their eyes and ears. They trust Trump more than their own research, more than what they know. And the only one that can convince them that something that they don't like is what they like is if Trump does it, because ultimately Trump is their leader and they trust him. I understand sort of as an athlete, it's like you trust your captain, you have to trust your coach, and they see Trump as the coach, and they're sports fans. So they're like, I trust Trump, and no matter what he does. But for me, I'm not cat turd. I'm not like a low IQ person wearing a cowboy hat who looks like he poops his pants. Like, that's not my job. My job is not like a professional Trump coattail rider. Like, I'm a professional fan. Same thing with sports. Like, some sports people are professional fans. I'm an analyst. I'm a journalist. I do news analysis. So when I disagree with Trump, it's based on evidence. I'm not just sitting there making up reasons to like him. And that's why I like Thomas Massie more than Trump. I feel like every time Trump's been wrong and every time Trump has conned his base and stabbed his base in the back, Thomas Massie has usually told the truth about it. But when it comes to what people like and then what Trump does, when it's on two sides, a lot of people side with Trump over what they believed 2 days ago. And Thomas Massie has never been a pushover. And I do think the most obvious angle is, look at the people that disagree with Trump. They're talking about Israeli influence. They're talking about AIPAC. Tucker Carlson has talked about it. Thomas Massie has talked about it. Do you think it's a coincidence that the same donor groups and the same organizations that want to throw away Thomas Massie, that Trump essentially now represents, now Trump wants to throw out Thomas Massie because of America and because of his votes? I don't buy it. I think Trump works for a foreign country. I think Trump works for the donors, and he has the Republican base under a spell, to the point where even reading this message, like all the talking points that he has and all the gaslighting, it could have been written by Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro. Like, it's the same, he wants Iran to do this and that. He never said that. He just said that he thinks that for a war, you need congressional approval. I understand it's not the most popular time to say something like that, but I'd rather have somebody in Congress like Thomas Massie, who I think is right most of the time. And even times when I disagree with him, it's coming from a principled stance. Like, I know he's not changing his opinion based on what the donors say. And most people are doing that. So you already know, like, people like Tucker, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie and Ron Paul and Rand Paul, they seem to be, and I don't even consider Rand Paul in the same conversation, unfortunately, because I think he's like a step behind Massie and his father. But in general, it's like, these are the people that aren't sold out. These are the people that are willing to speak out against the herd and the masses. And yes, they're in the minority in government, so they can't get anything done. But that just shows that most of our government is compromised, in my opinion. Let's see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I think that Thomas Massie is way more popular than Trump realizes. And although I don't think he can beat Trump in an election and Trump will still be, really popular, I do think that Trump is going to lose more and more people trying to make Thomas Massie the enemy. But I think we all know why. And for me, I've been a little bit annoyed with Trump for years. It's unfortunate the left is so fake and stupid. And I think the election in New York City is a perfect analogy of really our options and what happens in this country. Either you get Andrew Cuomo, who's running as the moderate, right, for the Democrats. He's an ultra-Zionist. He's a deep state shill. He is absolutely sharing the same foreign policy as Trump for the most part. And he locked the country down and was a disgraced governor at one point. So it's like, why would you want to vote for that guy? It's like that. Or you get some socialist far left guy who will absolutely probably destroy the city more than Cuomo, but he's not completely controlled by the Israel lobby, or so it seems. So a lot of the Democrat youth are voting for him because they're disillusioned with what's going on in the Middle East. So it's like, that's not really an election. I know there's a Republican in the election, and he's probably not even going to come close. I mean, I hope he does. But it's like, this is exactly what it is. You got Republicans on Twitter that are like, oh, I can't believe this socialist Muslim's going to win the election. He might beat Cuomo. And it's like, yeah, obviously I get it's not ideal to have somebody with those politics run the city, because I wouldn't vote for him. But Cuomo, it's like you want them to vote for the crappiest politician in America that shouldn't even be running. That just shows you the false paradigm. It's just like Fox News and CNN. They always disagree on some levels, but at the main levels, it's like either bad or bad. It's like evil or evil. Do you want to destroy the city and have a guy have terrible policies, or do you want a guy that also kind of destroys the city, but slightly less, but works for the same donors that Trump works for? Like, that is American politics. I like the Thomas Massies, the Tucker Carlsons, and the Ron Pauls more than the Sean Hannitys, the Lindsey Grahams, the Trumps, and the John McCains. And Trump is in that category. I had low expectations for him, but, I think Trump campaigned as Ron Paul, and he governs like Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I think. Appreciate y'all. Let me know what you think in the comment section. God bless you. Real quick, I just wanted to add this to the video. Trump just posted a new post about Thomas Massie where he claims that he's against all of the above and many incredible things. And one of the things in there says protects our Second Amendment. So Trump is trying to pathologically lie to his fan base and tell him that Thomas Massie is against protections to the Second Amendment. This is the same Donald Trump who already violated the Second Amendment, and the Supreme Court recently struck down his federal ban on bump stocks, which was unconstitutional. And also Trump said in his first term, take the guns first, go through due process second. Thomas Massie is the best congressman on the Second Amendment. He's 100 times better than Trump. And Trump has already infringed on the Second Amendment, and it's just crazy to see him pathologically lie to his audience on Truth Social. And then, of course, most people get it, but when I posted on Facebook, there's still some brainwashed Trump-tards who are like, Trump didn't say that. He absolutely did say that in the post. He said that Thomas Massie is against all of the above, including protections to the Second Amendment, because Trump has this massive bill that Thomas Massie doesn't want to sign. Thomas wants to separate all of the situations so he can vote yes and no accordingly, not be forced to vote on 1,000 things at once that nobody can read. It's crazy that people defend Trump, but obviously he's created a religion around his hero worship. Yeah, I like Thomas Massie more than Trump. It's annoying to see Trump do this, but it's not surprising, unfortunately. And, between him and Kamala and Biden, hopefully within 4 years, the American public awakens, the conservative MAGA movement awakens, so we can get an actual candidate instead of a false paradigm banker theater election where either you get an open, closed border with the same foreign policy. It's getting pretty annoying. Let me know what you think. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for the support.